Hi, what's up, guys? Today I'm going to show you how to build a full stack web application using React, and we're going to use the router. It's a single page application, and it's a simple um, website we're building with two pages. The other one is a contact us page, the other one is a home page, and then another dummy one about us to just show you how you can have multiple pages rendering um, in React. And then I will also show you how to build the backend for the contact form. We'll build a very simple contact form, which we'll be able to put in our backend. We'll use MongoDB for that. So let's jump into it. So just take on Splash. So I'm using Git Bash for my terminal. You can download Git Bash or you can use your command prompt. And we want to install the create reacts package globally so that we can run the create react app from anywhere on our computer first. So after doing that, uh, this this application that we're creating we called the application, and after you press enter it will take time to load, but after it's done it will be like this. It will create the application, and before we open the code editor, we'll be using Visual Studio Code. Before we do that, we'll also want to add npm install the React router, the DOM, because this will not be available in that boilerplate that we just installed. So I'll just open a new terminal while that installs. A new terminal is taking a little bit of time. Yes, now it's there. So npm as change directory. I'd like to go to the desktop and I want to go to the application, and then I'll open code editor by just typing code. So after the code editor launches, I want to start the application, the React application. It's taking a little bit of time to finish installing the React router DOM. So now this shows that it's going to launch the code editor just now. But in the meantime, I'd like to, sorry, let me just minimize that. I'd like to just npm start to start the React server so that at least that the scripts start running. So Visual Studio Code is now open. Let's just see. Great. I think the React router DOM is finished installing. So if we go to our package.json, we can see on the dependents, now we've got React router DOM, which is awesome. So what we want is we want to go to the source folder and we just delete some of the files that we won't be using, like these. Just hit the delete button because they come with the boilerplate. So we just need to remove them. And our application will be in app.js, and all this information we will not need. We will just delete this, all of this. For now, we just return an empty, an empty bracketed, uh, and maybe we just put a heading, a heading h1 and h1, and we'll call it, maybe we'll say application is started, and just save that. So we know we've removed some of these things, so we just remove them. And we know we need to import React from React, and then we'll need to import the browser. We need to destructure rather the browser 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 router as a router, and we need to also import the switch. We need these when we start to build our switches in the application, our route. So we need to also import this from React router DOM. Awesome. So what we need is we need to build a couple of components which will enable us to, I think now finally the React server is starting up. Let's just go back to Visual Studio Code. So we need to create components which will be rendering from this application. So we'll have to create a couple. We will have to create the homepage, home from. We'll need to create the folder, and we'll call the folder components. And in the folder, we'll have home.js, and we'll do the same for the about page, and we'll bring it as about, and we'll do the same for the contact page, and we'll bring it as contact. So we'll bring them in, and maybe we'll have a navigation bar, a nav bar, nav, which will remain present irrespective of the page. So the nav bar, we'll be putting it here, but because we want, let me just put some space so that things are a bit clearer. So because we want all this, whatever we return, to be, or in the app page, we want to render the different routes, but also to show the switches. So because of that, we'll just use the router, we'll wrap everything around the router, and then the navigation will come first. So we have the navigation. This is JSX syntax. It's the way that it's similar to HTML, but it's different in that you can also pass some JavaScript in the code. And all this is rendering into the index.js file here. You can see how this file is being imported, and then everything gets compiled into the a div called root, which is in the public folder in the index.html file. At the bottom there, this div, this is where everything will render. So that said, we need to create our we'll wrap everything in a switch. After the navbar, we have the different pages which will be rendering. We'll wrap everything in a switch, and in that switch we will have a route, and on the route we know that we have a path. The path to the route would be if there is the home, and we need to tell it which component to render when the home path has been entered by the browser. In this case, we needed to enter home, but to enter JavaScript in JSX, we put the open curly brackets, and then the next path will be about. Whenever someone hits the about, we hit the about. Then the next path will be contact. Whenever someone hits contact, that page will come up. So here we have to be careful because you see the this is found in all the routes. So if we don't specify that this has to be exact, we are going to have a challenge where the home page will be rendering on every page. So we have to specify that we need only that, or only when only that route is hit, then we want everything to render. And the last thing is I think actually that's about it. That's about it. Maybe we'll have a footer, and the footer will need to create one as well. A footer and footer. So React is fantastic in that it just helps us break down a lot of components which are otherwise quite difficult to build individually. So let's create a folder in the source folder, and we'll call this components. In that components folder, we know we need a nav.js. I'm just running from the top. A nav.js, a home.js. Just go back. Let's just go to home.js, and then we'll need about.js, and we need a contact.js, and we'll need a footer.js. So in each of the components, I'm using snippets, which you can add when you go to extensions. Just type React snippets. I'm using these snippets which were made by Burke Holland. So these are basically shortcuts which help you get a lot of boilerplate done quickly. So if I type RFC, it kind of just creates a boilerplate very quick. So for the footer, it'll be very simple. We can just have a copyright, and we can say copyright 2021. And then in the contact.js, maybe this is where we're going to have a form. So come back to this, and then about, maybe this one again, we just use very simple code. This is the about us page. Maybe we'll actually, it might be better to wrap this in a h2 tag. And then yeah, h2 tag. So then we go to the home page. Home page, we would like to do almost the same thing. Home page, and only difference is this is the home page, and we are home. I'll say we are home! Exclamation mark, and I'll just change that to an H1 heading. So again, this is just representative of whatever code that you would like to put in the application. But yeah, for the contact us would like to build a form, but maybe for a start, maybe we just put something simple for us to be able to just test that everything is working. Contact us today, and if we go back here, everything should be ready. Let's just see if everything is running. App cannot resolve about in the application about JS. I have no idea. Sometimes some of these errors might get resolved if we just restart. If the error persists, then I'll just check what could be the challenge. So yeah, it's just loading. So it's the error is persisting index module not found. You see, that's a much clearer error. This is a very simple error. We just go to the public folder, the index, complaining about the report web vitals. And this is stuff that we should just get rid of because we don't really need it. If we go to the index.js file, where's the index? Sorry, it's now a source. Index.js, where is it there? Index.js, we don't need this, and we don't need that. And then we just save. So if we go back, we don't need that. So element type is invalid, expected a string or a class but got an object. Where is that? So let me just make sure that we've removed everything we don't need. Index.css, down, and so the error we're getting is actually because I didn't complete the nav component section. So I've just updated this code. So we shouldn't be getting an error now. If we go back um, to the portal, yes. But now you can see we are home. Application is started. We are home. So what is going on? Application is started, and then we are home is rendering. Okay, so the application is started bit is coming from here, as you can see. Let me just go to home.js and I say, yes, we are home. Yes, we are home. So this we are home, where is that we are home coming from? In the nav. Oh, because I put it in the nav. So we just call this navigation for now. Navigation. And we just change that into a paragraph. So we've got the navigation, application has started. Yes, we are home. So in the navigation, that's where we're just going to put the links. So we'll need to import and destructure the link from React router DOM. And so in the link, we're going to have an unordered list, and we'll have list, but each list item will be surrounded by a link attribute. So link, and so the link, instead of using anchor tags, we use link. We've destructured it from the React router DOM. So we've got to specify where to. So this is going to start by the home page, and then so we call this home, and then we will also have another link. This one will go to the about us page, and about us page, and then the last link will go to the contact page, and gotta change here to contact page, home about contact. So yay. Now if we say about, this is about us page, so we know our application is working. Today contact us. So everything is working. Maybe I just remove this so that it's easier to realize what's working. And then yeah, so if we go to the home, yes, we are home. About, this is the about us page. Contact us today. So we just need to format so that things look a little bit prettier. So the first thing that we'll do is we just create we'll call it nav formatting, and this will be an object, and it will take the background and we'll set it to black, and then we'll set the color to white, and maybe what else do we need to do? List styling equal to none, and then we'll apply this here. We'll say style is equal to, and we'll apply the nav format. Yes. So if we go back, you can see styles are applied, but we've got to change the links as well. So we'll change the let link format be equal to, and then maybe we'll say text decoration. Notice instead of a dash, which we would use in CSS, I'm using camel casing. So that's how JSX works. But this is pretty awesome because you literally can format the components right inside, which is really cool. So text decoration, would like that to be none, and then would like the color to be white. So we'll apply this to the links. And we'll say style. Again, we'll take the link format and we'll just apply that, just copy that to every link. And go back. Yes, you can see everything is working. Only thing that we might need here is just to display everything. Display and we'll display everything flex and flex or justify content. Justify content, and we say space between. Awesome. So now we can see our nav bar is spaced properly and so on. Maybe we just give this some padding, and the padding will be maybe we'll call it 5 or 2 em, and we'll save that 2 em, and we'll save that. Yes. So now this is working. Everything is working proper. And now if we press the home and then about and contact. Of course, our styling is not really the best, but I think you can see how things are working, and you can see how our URL is changing, which is really cool. So now what we want to do is when we get to the About Us page, we would like to, when we get to the contact page rather, want to change the way that we are exporting. We're exporting it as a function, but would like to create it as a class because we want to build a contact form here. So to build a contact form, we'll just RFC, yes, that should, no, not RFC. I'd like to just export as a class. Let me just scroll through maybe it's a component. So as a component, extends component, yes. So extends contact as components. So what we're going to do is we use the constructor because we want to be able to use this keyword so that we can bind whatever we're going to put in the form, because we're going to have a form in here and we want to be able to bind whatever we put into the form to a state. So to do that, we want to be able to use this keyword. So our const populates that for us. So in this form, we're going to be taking the name of the visitor. So we just say full name, and then at the start we just set it to a blank. Then we'll have their email address, email, and again set that to blank for a start. Then the last thing is their message, and we just put a blank for now. So great. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to return a form. So that form is going to have input field, input field for us to capture. So the name of the first one will be the full name, and then we want to give it a placeholder of full name, and the value would like it to equal to full name. But now this won't work at the moment because we have to define within the render context what is full name. So we know we will need to define the full name and the email and the message. We need to destructure them from the state of the application. And then, so since we'd already done the first one, again, type, oh, I forgot type. The type for this one is text. And then the second one, let me just remove that. I just duplicated what's above by holding Shift Alt down arrow. You'll be able to just duplicate what's on top. Again, this now is the value for the email, and the placeholder is the email, and the name is email, and the type is email. And then the last thing is a text area. We just remove this. So we say we would like a text area. The text area will have the name will be equal to the message, and then the placeholder will just say enter your message here, and the value will bind this to the message. And then the last thing that we just have is the last thing we'll have is just a button for submitting. So a button, the type is going to be a submit, and we just call this submit. So we need a couple of things. We need an on submit handler. On submit, we'll call this submit handler. We have to create this because it doesn't exist yet. And then on change, any of these, whenever they change, would like them to change handler, would like them to go through the function, the change handler function. So I guess I'll just copy this onto each of our inputs. Yeah. So now let's just set those two functions. The first one is the on change handler. So on change handler or change handler, I think that's what we called it. Change handler is equal to we've got to use the arrow functions because we want to keep this context. So whenever there's a change, we want this dot set state, would like to set the state with an object of, we'll take the target name, this will represent any of these, and we would like it to set it to the target's value. So it just updates that. The change handler just updates that. Is everything okay? I'm not sure what is going on here, but anyway, change handler. Is that what we called it? Change handler. And then the next thing that we want is submit handler is equal to again we use an arrow function and we say am I supposed to? I think I'm not supposed to put this in the render. They're supposed to be outside. That's why they're giving me that error. So anyway, on the submit handler, whenever we would like to prevent the default action of the form when it's submitted, because it likes to send it to refresh the page, so we want to avoid that. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is we need to, maybe for now, we just log the console.log the state, this dot state, whatever the state is at that particular point. Though in reality, after we set up our backend, we will need to actually send this data to a form. So we use the fetch API, and then the first thing that the fetch API takes is the link, the URL. So we'll fill in the URL here for the backend, and then the next thing is we need to take in the method, and so the method in this case is going to be a post, and then we know we need the headers, and it's an object. We know the content type which we need to post to the database will be an application / JSON file. So this should actually handle a lot of the submission of the form. Awesome. So if we try this out, if I just comment this out for now, we should be able to just get our information logging into the console. So just open the application. It's not pretty. So again, we know how to fix this. All we have to do is just create. So we call this maybe form formatting, and it's an object. Maybe we say display. We display everything as flex, and the flex direction will make it a column, and maybe we'll also change the width of everything to maybe we say 70%, and this is in parenthesis, or yeah, and we'll need, maybe we'll say margin, and we'll put it in the middle. So maybe we'll say 10 or 5 viewport height, and auto for the left and right side. So if we apply this formatting to the form, where's the form? The form is here. Then we just say style. Again, we just use form formatting. Yes. So now we've got a better looking form. So I think for all the other things, we might need to just have some space between everything. So just say for the input format, we know we need to, maybe we just put the height, just make it explicit, maybe 40 pixels, or rather 1.5 em, so that it's relative. And then we will put the margin top, and we'll put that to maybe 5 pixels so that it's not all cramped together. And again, we just make sure that the style is across all the input elements. The style is input format, and I just copy this across the other items and across the other items. So if I go back, yes, I think it's looking better. It's obviously not as pretty as we would like, but that's not the point. So now if we say our routes are still working, about is still working, and the contact. So we'll just say I'll fill in my details and we'll fill in a message and just say testing 101, and then we will submit. If we open our console, you can see an object has been submitted, and it's got an email, it's got a full name and a message, which is awesome. That's exactly what we're looking for. So now our front end application is done. We've got our fancy website, which has got different pages, and we've seen how to style different elements. We've seen how to route pages and so on. So the next thing that we want to do is to actually build a backend. Yes, we are going to build a backend. So the backend is going to be important in submitting our form, and we're going to be using MongoDB. So I'll just open a new terminal so that we can initialize the project. So let's just wait for my terminal to open up. The terminal is open, so we just go to the desktop, and I'll make a directory and I'll call it sites underscore backend, and then we'll go to that directory and I'll initialize an application, and I'm using Node.js. That allows us to use npm init yes to everything, because we're going to get asked a bunch of questions and we don't really want to spend time answering them. So now that that's done, awesome. To set up our server on the back end, we'll need to install Express, and because we'll be accessing the front and the back end from the same IP address, we'll need to remove the cross origin barrier. That's why we use cores. So npm install express cores, and then we need body parser to manage all the stuff that's coming from the client side, and then we'll need nodemon to restart the server, and .env to keep our keys hidden for database access, for example. So we're just opening that. So while these are installing, I'll just open a new terminal, and in that new terminal I'll navigate to this directory so that we can start creating our backend application. So we're going to desktop, and we're going to, what did we call it? Backend, site backend, and we'll open the code editor. Once it's open, I can close the terminal. So where is it? It's opening. So awesome. So you can see it's still, while it's still installing, here you can see it's still installing. It's actually finished, which is pretty cool. So if we go to our package.json, we'll be able to see all the applications that we installed. But to use them, we just need to first of all put a script to start the server. And whenever we want to start the server, we want it to run nodemon index.js. So we need to set up the index.js file, index.js. So in this file, the first thing we'll require const express, and we'll require express, and then we'll need cores and cause, and then we'll need body parser and bring in body parser, because that's the only way we're able to use these packages. We have to bring them into the project. After the body parser, we'll need to use Mongoose. I forgot Mongoose because Mongoose is very important for the database. We actually need to add that Mongoose. So then to use the .env, we just need to require .env / config. So Mongoose, we need to install that actually. npm install Mongoose. This will help us set up the schema for the database. Considering we already kind of know the information we'll be getting, but we just need to set up the schema so that we make sure our database gets the right information in the right format. So I'm just going to open another terminal, and that terminal we're going to use it to start the MongoDB server. MongoDB server, you just go to Google and just say download or MongoDB download, and then click the MongoDB community download. When you install it on your computer, then you can actually use it on your computer. And to use it, to start the MongoDB server, just type MongoD, and then it will start the database server, because in that server we'll need to set up a database which is specific for handling the form. So we just leave it to go through its process to start. Gotta be patient with it. Now that the database server is started, in that new terminal that we opened, we just type Mongo to access the database now. So awesome, we have managed to set up the server and it's running at this port. So we just copy that because we'll need it in our application. And in our application, we just create a .env file where we'll be keeping this information. So we'll call this database URL and it'll equal to that. However, this information is not complete because we have to specify the database that it's going to be using. So if we type show DBs, we'll be able to just see which databases are inside. So to create a database, we just say use, and we want to create, we'll call this a contact database. Use contact or site contact, I guess. Site contact, long name, but I guess it's easier when we read it, we'll know what it means in the future. So at the end, site contact. And then other thing that we need to just store in the environment variables is the port, because we'll be running this on port 5000. So to access this information that we just put up there, we just say port const the port is equal to process dot environment variables dot port, and then we'll also need the database URL, and again process.env dot database URL. So now we've got the database URL. Is the spelling the same? Database URL, database URL. Awesome. So now we have to set up the server. So we'll set up middleware so that when the router hit, stuff happens. And then we'll start the server and we will connect to the database. Maybe I'll connect to the database before. Connect to the database. Now let's just get that done. First thing, to connect to the database, we need Mongoose. So say mongoose dot connect, and to connect we need the path, the database URL, and we need to use new URL parser, and we just so if that's true, I'd like to use the new URL parser, and The last thing is if there is an error, what do we want it to do? So if there is an error, would like it to, if there is an error, like to console, let me just write error in full. Error, error. If there is an error, would like to console.error and then share the error in the console. Else would like it to just kind of say the database is connected with an exclamation mark. Awesome. So the database should be connected now. And then we need to instantiate the app, the application. So to instantiate the application, just say const, we'll create an app and we'll call it, we'll say express, maybe I just write here, instantiate the application, okay, the backend. Okay, so we'll instantiate through by doing that. So the middleware, we'll come back to the middleware. In fact, we can actually fix it now. Middleware, anytime there's a GET request, so whenever the, the would like the application to use, first of all, would like it to use CORS, and then would like it to use body parser .json, yes, and then would like it anytime to use, whenever we get any requests to go to the contact form, would like it to use contact router. So we have to set up the contact router after this. But in the meantime, let's just start the server. So to start the server, it's app.listen. Wanted to listen on the port. And when it's listening on the port, what else would we want it to do? Did I write port here? Yes, I did write port. So would like, when that happens, would like callback to just say error, and we just say if there is an error, would like it, I'm using a ternary operator because it's a very simple statement that we want, console dot error, and would like to put the error. Otherwise, would like to console dot log, and we'll put I'll use backticks, the application is now running on, and template literals will allow me to write the port number directly in that string, which is pretty awesome. So now if we just start a new terminal, to start a new terminal, just say terminal, new terminal, because we want to start the server to just check whether our backend is now running. So the backend, we just say npm start. So the application crashed. Why did it crash? Contact router is not defined. Oh, yes, I remember in our middleware here, we said would create the contact router, but we hadn't created it yet. So we know we need contact router, and we have to require it from, we'll create a folder called router, and inside we have a file called contact router.js. Yeah, contact router. So let's actually do that now. We just create folder called router, and then inside that folder we have a contact router.js. Yeah. So in the contact router.js, for now, let's see. I think this should be fine. Let's just try to restart the server. something else want to miss. Use middleware but got an object. Where is it? Middleware. Use but got an object. Let me just separate the challenge. Like to just let me just comment that out for now and see whether we're still getting an error. Yes, the database is now connected. Oh, so probably I need to, as soon as I set up the router, I need to, as soon as I set it up, I need to set up the router in the contact.js file. So let me just do that. But anyway, you can see the application is now running and the database is connected. So yeah, now we know it's going to give us that error, but we're going to fix it just now. App.use, yes. So if we go to contact.js, to set up the router, we just say const, we need the we need express, and we require express for that. And then we'll need the contact router to be set up, and we get that from express.router. And once that's done, we'll need to we'll also need a schema, so we'll call it contact schema. We'll set that up, and we'll require, we know that this will be in another folder, so we just need to go back 2 folders, and we have a folder called model, and in that model we have a file called contact schema. And then at the end we need to module.exports the contact router. Yes, so we just do that. So we need to now set up, so here we'll set up our requests, or this is where we're setting up the route, the different routes. So we just now need to create a different folder for the model, as we have highlighted here, for the schema. So in that model folder, we're going to set up a file called contact schema.js, and in here we need Mongoose to set up the schema so that we can interact with our database in a very clean way. Mongoose, and we'll need to contact schema to create the contact schema, and that will be a function of mongoose schema, and in that schema we take an object. The first thing, we can use our front-end application to guide us. We've got a full name, an email, and a message. So full name, and we expect this to be a string, and then we expect it to come through. We need it. It's required. Then the next thing is an email. Again, this is going to be a string and it's required. And then the last thing is the message. Yes. So the type is a string and it's required again. And then we need to export this module.exports. We'll export a mongoose model, and we'll call this contact. And whenever that's a contact is made, we want to use the contact schema. So now we know we've got access to the contact schema here. And now the routes. So whenever we get the contact gets get request, we know there's going to be a request and a response. And when what we would like to do is to use the schema, the contact schema, to find everything, and would like it to, we know it might get an error or a response, and whichever of the two, if we do get an error, like to send, first of all, set the status to 500, which is a network error, and then send JSON back to the client. And the JSON maybe will have a message body, which just says the application failed to launch. And then we would like also the status of the error, we call it true, that it's actually an error. This is stuff that we can use in the front end. Very useful. Else, would like to send res.state, set the status to 200, and then send back the response as JSON to the client, which is going to be awesome. So if it's a website, this can be the the portal where someone can just view all the messages which have come in. No idea why you do it this way, but I guess it's our tutorial, so we do whatever we want. Contact router. Whenever it's a post, what would we want to happen? When it's a post, we would like to just say that we know we'll have a request and a response. So when it's a post, we would like the post to, first of all, we have to create a new contact. So let new contact be equal to, we use the employee schema, contact schema, and we know that we'll have a full name, and we'll have we'll get the full name from the request. So we have a full name, we have an email, and again we'll get the email from the request. Then we have the message, and the message we'll get from the body again. Awesome. And what else do we need? What else do we need? Yeah. So now that we've got a new contact, we need to save it. And then after saving it, would like to tell the client that, hey, we've actually saved. So the data which will come in, we need to change it to JSON. We need to just send it to the client. We need to send the res.send to the client, res.json. We send to the client the data. Or if there is an error, we'll catch the error and just maybe res dot yeah, I think it'd be good to just set the status as well, status to 200 to show that it's been successful, and just here we'll set the status to 500 to show that it's failed, and we want to pass on the JSON of the error. Awesome. So I think everything should be sorted now. We've got a get route, we've got a post route. We haven't added an update or a delete, but for our cause, we don't really need it. So, moment of truth, if I restart the application, awesome. Everything is working like a charm. The application is now running on 5,000 and the database is connected. So if we just open a new local host, remember we set it to 5,000. And what's the, if we go to index.js, contact, whenever someone hits the contact route, they get a response. So far it's an empty array because we haven't put in a message yet. So let's actually put in a message. So testing, oh, we need to adjust our form to be able to the submit handler has to be able to send, because now we actually have an API route. So where's the API route? It's here, and we'll paste it in the fetch method. So now this is the moment of truth. So if we go here and then we say testing 101, this must work, exclamation mark, and then we send. If we go to our API and we refresh, ooh, let me just check something, whether it was submitted. Wait, this server responded with the status of 500 internal. What could be the challenge? Let me just go back to the application to see what could be the challenge. So the server responded. Let me just restart the application, the React application. So npm start. Let us see whether we have a case or we don't have a case. What is going on? Oh, I know why. It's because I didn't, silly me, I didn't add a body. I just set the method, the headers, but the body, which is actually the start state. That's what we want. Of course, it's not going to give us the result that we are looking for. We do silly things like that. So it's still starting the application again. Go here, just restart. It's still starting the application. Still starting the application. We just wait for it. Wonder why it's taking time. Let me just terminate that. npm start. We just wait for it for a bit and we see how everything goes. Starting the development server. Finally, starting the server. Let us see what it brings to us. Close the old server. It's taking a lot of time. Taking time. So yes, we are home. We hit the About Us page and we hit the contact page, and then we just fill in the form and we say this time it must work and submit. So if we go back to API, do I need to restart my server? Not that. I need to restart my server on the backend. Unexpected token, JSON, pass. So let's just restart the server. Okay, so if we now that the server is restarted, if we submit this time, what happens? Oh, we have another error. Failed to load resource. The server responded with a 400 bad request. So this. Oh, so the reason why it's not working is because here I just passed this dot state. I have to put it as a JSON because our API only accepts JSON, so we've got to stringify this. JSON.stringify that. So now if we try it out, everything should work like a charm. Testing 101. Now if we go back and we refresh, yay, we've got our message. Caleb Boscha, Claire Bosch, and testing 101. And let's just test something else. Someone else visits, goes to the home page, goes to about and contacts. They love the work we do. So we'll say, we'll call them Esther Nemwa, and her email address is esther@gmail.com. And this is awesome work! Exclamation mark. And they submit the message. If we go back and refresh, there is a message. So guys, this has been awesome. It was long, I know, but it was worth it. We built a full application front, got a very fancy website, and we can access all the data from the back. I mean, great work. So see you guys in the next tutorial.